Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana here, and today is Casing Tuesday. And today I ended up making a get well card. And if you've already read my blog posts, you can probably know a little bit. I've alluded to the fact that my mom is in the hospital. She joins my dad, who is also in the hospital, and it's been kind of a rough week. I think, um, yeah, it's it's very hard to be over here on the east coast of the U.S. and have my parents be over in Western Canada. Right now, the world events have created difficult situations for everyone. Not just me, but for everyone. Everyone has something that they've sacrificed, that a difficult situation. And for me, it means having family in Canada and being here in the US. And what that means for me is that I can't quickly or easily get to them, even if I can fly there right now, I have to quarantine for 14 days before I can see them. And I'm I would take that very, very seriously, because it's not just a thing. If you're flying across the country, you could be exposed, and then you could expose the people that you love, especially sick people. And then, of course, not to mention the fact that hospitals now have different sort of protocols in terms of visitors. They can't just have unlimited visitors. So, anyway, it just brings difficult situations. So, in the meantime, what I do to keep myself happy and sane and is stamp. And um, this card that I made today, it's a get well card. If I put it in the mail today, it might not get to my mom for weeks. Really, because in Canada, like, the mail across the border is just so slow. I know I mailed the Father's Day cards off a week beforehand, and I can't remember what day Father's Day was in June. And on July 4th, when I talked to my mom, they still hadn't received the Father's Day card. So I don't even know how many weeks it would take. And um, you know, I could expedite, but I don't think it would help much. And expediting costs a small fortune. If any of you have relatives in other countries, you will completely understand what I'm talking about. You don't want to spend oodles and oodles of money sending a card across the border. Um, you know, I sent something to my parents-in-law in Ontario, like a small package, a padded envelope, and it took a month. So, it just doesn't make any sense, to try and expedite something across the border, because that was an expedited package, and it took a month. Anyway, you have to laugh. It's so absurd right now. But anyway, I think what I'm alluding to is we're all having issues right now, whether or not it's family members that are sick, or um, difficult situations financially, or logistically, with working and kids and stuff. I don't have that situation right now. Our son is university age, and he's up in Canada, so it's a different sort of scenario. But stamping is very therapeutic. And this morning, I've been really busy. So this morning I was creating the card, and that's where Casing Tuesday comes in really handy too, is because sometimes I don't have time to make a card completely from scratch, completely out of my brain. I need a starting point. And so this morning I was creating this card, and I was like, this is going to be a get well card, and this is my starting point. So let me show you my starting point. There's my starting point. So there is the card that we all do for Casing Tuesday this week. I love the layout of it. It's like very simple. It's got the square in the corner. It's got a greeting layer. It's got a little ribbon. Probably should have thrown some embellishments on my card now that I see those beautiful little gold jewels on there. Those look really, really pretty. Maybe I'll add some to my card afterwards in retrospect. But I love this layout. And then we have the sketch that goes with it. So these are the base layers, but you can play with them if your image is a little bigger, a little smaller. You just play with them. It's not like it's set in concrete or anything. This is like your starting point, and it will help you kind of define the layers, and then you can change them as you see fit. So I'm gonna switch my camera over, and I'm going to face down so you can see better my cards and what I'm talking about. And today as I was creating the card, I wanted to use both the die set that I chose and the stamp set. And so I created two cards. One is a simpler card, just using the stamp set in case you don't have a die cutting machine. And then the other card is using the die set in case you do have a die cutting machine and you want the bundle. So I'm going to face this down here. Okay, here we go. So I'll show you my simpler card first. So this card is just layers and stamping. So I stamped this layer with 3 different stamps, and then I just added a little greeting layer right here. I kept it right onto the card base. There's no paper, there's no embossing. And then I just added a little linen twine ribbon. Very basic and easy card. So the stepped up version of this card is this. I also did stamping on this card, but then I layered over top with the die set. I'll show you that in a moment. And what I really love about this die set, which some of our bundles don't do, is that they match. The stamping matches underneath the die set and allows the stamping to peek through. So it's really, really pretty. I love that. I also, instead of just a plain layer, I added a little bit of, I used the stitch rectangle dies, so it has a little stitched edging. I added a little ribbon down here underneath to kind of give a scallop edge. And then I used I believe it's called the Tasteful Textures embossing folder on the back right here. It's a very subtle embossed look, but it gives just a little bit of something to the background. So you can see, maybe catching the light. My light is really bad this morning. Let me see if I can open this curtain here. Get some more light coming in the side. It sometimes helps. If I get the sun coming up, then I can't have that window open because it's too bright. But anyway, I don't know if you can see very well, but this one has some texture to it. Cards always look better in person than they do on the camera because the camera can't capture everything. But I'll show you how I layered up all of these dies. I'm going to show you how I made both of these cards in a moment. And this is what I used to make them. It's called the Blossoms in Bloom Bundle. This stamp set is gorgeous all on its own. But if you like die cutting, look at this. We've got 2 different layers of the same die. Let me face them the same direction. They layer together, so there's a more, I don't know what you call it, the bold part of the die, and then we've got a more detailed die here. And same with these little flowers. They match over top of each other. And also this matches over top the stamp image. This image right here, you can kind of see, here's my stamp. So these will match over top. So that is really, really cool. I love that. And there's really cute little greetings to go with the stamp set. Things that you'll really need. You'll need a happy birthday, a thinking of you, get well soon. It's a really good set for that. So that's what I used. And then I used the stitch rectangle dies as well, just for the greeting layer. But if you don't have them, you can just cut yourself a little rectangle and that will work perfect as well. All right, so let's get started. And I'm going to, oh, you know what I was going to do? I need a scrap piece of paper. That was the one thing I forgot. I threw out my scrap piece of paper because it got really, really inky. This is just going to help protect my work surface because this stamp is going to go over top and it's not going to, it's going to go off the edge. So I'm stamping my focal point layer, and this is a 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch square. I'm going to grab my Rococo Rose ink pad, and I've got this big blossom stamp. This is on, let me see what block letter this is. This is an F block. It's our biggest block, and you kind of need it for this. Otherwise, you're going to have part of your image dangling off. So I'll just take my Rococo Rose ink pad, and I'm going to, this is laid face up, and I'm just going to tap it all over top here. Get this nice and inky. All right. And then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to kind of position this down towards the bottom. I'm trying to just look at what I've already stamped. Yeah, that looks good. And right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to lift off. And this ink is going to dry a little bit lighter than it's stamped right now. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take shaded spruce ink, and I'll take my little leaf stamp right here, and I'm just going to add a few little leaves, like right up top here. You can see exactly where you're stamping with this photopolymer. So just kind of add some. You don't want to add like a ton. You just kind of want to add them so that they're going to enhance your little image. All right. And then we're going to take the Bumblebee ink pad. This is one of our new ink colors. And we're going to just add. See, I'm already feeling a little better now that I'm stamping. It helps take your mind off of things. And you know, when you're stamping a get well card, you are stamping it for someone, right? So, you know, that it is like a healing, healthy, happy thing to do. Okay, so I've got my first little layer here, and then I'm going to grab this little rectangle piece I cut earlier. This is Sahara Sand, and it's a little piece of 2.5 by 1/2 inch. Just put that on my scrap surface as well. And I'll come in with shaded spruce. And then you just want to center it on here. Now we do sell a little block. I want to show you here. Logically, you'd probably think, wow, this is a really great block to put this stamp set, or to put this stamp on. This is a little G block. And I do love G block, but I don't love G block when I have to center it on a piece like this, because if it's too close to the actual size of the layer you're trying to stamp on, you can't see very well on these edges because there's beveling, and it obscures kind of exactly where the edges are, so you can't tell if you're straight or not. So I've opted to put this stamp on a C block so that I can see better where the edges of my cardstock are. I can guarantee you I wouldn't have gotten it straight when it was on this block. This block is good sometimes, like if you have like a bigger layer, then you can use this. But for a smaller layer, and if you're trying to center it, rather than like punch something out, then use the bigger block. Put that away. All right, I think we're almost done with the first card. The first card's very easy. So then I have a card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5 and scored in half at the 4.25 inch mark. And then we'll take some Tombow. This is just such an easy card. I wanted to show that you can, you know, do this card in different ways. And I'm just going to add this up to the top. This is about 1/8 of an inch away from the side and the top. There's a little bit more distance on the bottom. I'm trying to follow the sketch somewhat. My square layer ended up being a little bit bigger than the one in the original sketch. But that's okay, like you can play with things like that. And I probably didn't mention today that we have a Facebook group if you're new. We have a Casing Tuesday Facebook group that you can join, and the link is down below in the description of my video. And I'm just going to grab, where's my take your pick tool? Okay, I'm going to use the piercing end of the take your pick tool. I just want to get one of these mini glue dots, and I'm going to create a mini glue blob. And I'm going to put it up top here at the corner of my get well layer. And then, let me see, I made a bow earlier. They're down here at the bottom. I made a little linen thread bow. And I love linen thread because it's very neutral. It complements a lot of different things, and it doesn't take over your card. So there is the card. See, wasn't that really, really easy to make? You know, those blossoms, they just filled that layer. And you're done. So easy and fun. I love it. Okay, so now let me show you how I made card number 2. A little bit more difficult. So let me bring my scrap piece of paper in again. And I'm starting with the same layer. It's a 3.5 by 3.5 inch piece of Whisper White. Let me move this out of the way. We're bringing in Rococo Rose again. This time when we stamp, we're going to stamp off first. So we're going to get some of the ink off of there, because if I stamp this full strength and then I layer Rococo Rose cardstock over top, there's not going to be enough contrast. So I'm going to stamp off once. All right, so let me stamp off once and then lift off, then come in with my layer, and I'm going to position this again, kind of like I had for my other card. That looks good. And then stamp that down. All right, now I'll lift off. Okay, so let me put this out of the way over here. I'm trying to think, do I need, yes, I'm still gonna need to stamp leaves. So let me do that first. Let me get Rococo Rose out of the way and bring in my shaded spruce. And I'm gonna stamp my leaves full strength in the same spots as I stamped the other ones. Right now this really does not look very good, but don't worry, it will look better by the time it's done. I need to watch that little, I got a little bit of ink on that block here. Let me get rid of that. And I'm just trying to put them in the same spot. That sounds like thunder. I better stamp quickly, right? I don't want my internet to go wacky. And so I'm just going to leave that like that for now. And close these ink pads up. So I've got this piece here. And then what I did earlier, so to save a little time, bring my dies back in. And I just want to show you what I did. So for the bold die, I cut this one out of a piece of Rococo Rose. So I ran this through my die cutting machine, and I cut this die out. This one is very, it has a little bit of detail, but it's very easy. The pieces pop out really, really easily. So it's not a problem at all to get all of those little pieces out of there. So I started with a piece of 5.5 by 4 1/4, and I ran it through. And so I have this piece. And then I took a smaller piece. This is a 4" by 3" piece of bumblebee. And I ran it through. I wanted to make sure that for the big 5 flowers that I hit all of the centers. So I ran this through, let me see if I can tilt this the right way. So I ran this through just to make sure I need bumblebee centers. So I made sure that all 5 of the big centers were on top of this bumblebee piece. So I didn't cut the full piece because I don't need it. I just need the centers to put on top. So now what I'm going to do is I want to cut some of these leaf pieces off here. So I'll take some scissors. So anywhere where there's a leaf, that is going to be gone. So I'm just trying to see if I can save myself. Okay, here and here and here. Okay, so I definitely have to cut off this piece. So I'm just going to kind of create kind of the edge of the flower. I'm cutting off this leaf piece. There's really not that many on here, but I just want to get rid of them. And you can, I'm trying to match this up so I know I have to cut off this piece. Okay, and I have to cut off this little flower here. Okay, and then over here I have a flower and some leaves to cut off. So let's go ahead and just come around the edges here. And then I just have one more piece here to cut off. All right, so I cut off like kind of 4 little bits off of my die. And this little these leaves up top here are going to be off my piece anyway, so I don't need to cut them off. But you could do this theoretically with a larger piece as well, so then I would just cut them off if I was going to do it that way. So now I'm going to see how I need to match this up. So I'll kind of come up here to about half the flower center. So I'm just going to put some glue on the back of here. And if you want, you can use our little adhesive sheets so you can make this whole back sticky. I always forget to do that, so I just use Tombow. And this actually has enough surface area to make the putting on the glue not too hard. So now I'm just going to match this over top here and kind of make sure that it comes on top. And then I'm going to piece this back down here. Looks so pretty, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through. I guess I could put my little centers on first. Let's do that. So now I'm going to piece my centers on. I'm going to cut this off afterwards, but let's just have a look how this is all going to come through. So we'll start off down here at the bottom, and I'm just going to cut off this little center right here. It's probably easier to do these one at a time rather than cutting them all away right away, so you can have an easier time finding which center goes to which center. So I'm just going to put some little bit of Tombow on here. I know some of the Tombow will actually kind of come through the holes, but it's going to dry clear. Oops. I saw that one of my little die cut pieces didn't come out completely. Come on. All right. Okay, so then I'm just going to stick this down on here like that. And right now this card looks like it's a bit of a mess, but just you wait. It's going to look so good when it's done. You know, sometimes you have a lot of time and you want to do something more intricate, and this is definitely the way to go then. And sometimes you want to go simple, like my first card. Or the other thing you could do is you could take your little stamp here and you could stamp the centers just on top of the bold piece here. I would do that in shaded spruce then, if I was going to do that. So I think this one is next here. Just cutting it away. So what things are you having to deal with in your life? I have the long distance problems, but I know some of you probably have kids at home, and that is like another whole situation, trying to work with kids at home. That's a really rough situation, because you want to give your kids everything, you know, and attention, but you have to pay bills, and so that's a really tough situation too. And then right here, put a little bit of Tombow on here. And like that. And then I just have one more. I'm going to cut off this bottom portion. I don't like that big spiky thing that's coming off. I just want the center. I just want it to be a little flower center. Okay. And then I'll put this on here. And just add this on here like that. All right, let me get rid of all of this debris. I'm gonna bring my garbage can over and just shovel it right into my garbage can. All right, so now I'm gonna take this along the back side here, and I'm gonna cut off, you know what, I probably don't have to cut off that side, but I do wanna cut off this top. Right here. Okay. All right. So there is my little piece, and it's going to look really good once I get it on top of my card base. So I have my card base. This is, again, the same as before. It's 8.5 by 5.5 and scored in half at the 4 1/4 inch mark. Then I ran a 4 1/4 by 5.5 piece through with my Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. This goes through a die cutting machine, but I'm not going to show you how to do that right now. So this is the piece that you end up with. And then I'm just going to add some Tombow to the back of here. And just line it up with my card front. And press down like that. Okay. So I wanted to add a little bit of something to the bottom of this because the original card has a scallop on it. So this is Rococo Rose, and this is called Scallop Linen Ribbon. It's really pretty, but it's a little chunky. It's not great for tying in a bow unless you're making a big bow, and generally for cards we're not doing that. It's better like as a piece of texture coming across a card, or tucked under a card base. So that's what I like to use it for. So I'm just going to take some tear and tape. This is double-sided adhesive, and I'm just going to run this a little piece right along the bottom right here. And I kind of want it to go all the way to the edge. So I will take scissors. You can tear it as the name suggests, but I'm going to just cut it this time. So I'll take this and I'm going to remove the liner. And I'll just put this down, a piece of this ribbon, and I'm going to line up the Rococo Rose edge right with the edge of my layer like that. I like to have overhang because it's far easier for me to come in and then trim it straight than try to line it up on the edge. So I waste just a little bit of the ribbon, but it's just a lot easier to do. So that's how I got my little linen piece. So that will be adhered to there. I also still need to stamp my Get Well, so I've got my little stitched rectangle right there. Grab my shaded spruce again, and I'll get my Get Well soon. Got lots of get well cards now, but I don't want anyone else to get sick. No more, no more people getting sick, please. Too many people sick right now. All right, so let's glue this on here. Trying to, where's my original card? I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, I think I've got all the layers that I need. I'll put some Tombow here on the back. And I'll just put this again, it's about 1/8 of an inch from the top and the side. Okay, and then I'm going to add this little layer. And because I'm mailing these, I'm trying not to use dimensionals, but this little piece would look really nice if you popped it up on some dimensionals. I try to keep things as flat as possible, especially if something is going international. You can put an extra piece of cardstock in, but I don't want to give international mail any excuse to make it harder to get my letter there. I just try and make it as simple as possible in terms of the bulky layers. I've got a little bow that I'm still going to add onto here. So where did my picture go? Here. So again, I'm going to just create a little blob on the top of the piercer end, put it down at the corner of my Get Well Soon. Let me see which side of this I like better. This looks better, this side. And then I'm going to come down on here and just stick that down. So those are my cards. And you can see they kind of look alike. We've got, let me move this out of the way. Okay. So I've got my die cut ones up top, and then I've got just my plain stamped ones below. And you can see how they kind of look the same, but in person, you're going to notice a lot more details and textures on this one. So you can, decide what do you have time for. If you don't have a lot of time, sometimes it's better to get that get well card out the door than it is to take the time to, stamp something elaborate. If that's going to hold you back, this one was very, very easy to stamp, and it still looks bright and beautiful, right? It's got all the same colors, the same layout. In fact, if you wanted to, you could even add that Rococo Rose trim underneath here too. That doesn't require a die cutting machine. It would add a little something, and it would just take a little bit extra time. So those are the cards. I hope you don't need get well cards like I do right now. Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you joined me this morning. I've started the day off with somber stuff. Sorry guys, I don't mean to do that. It's just what's happening in my life right now. But I want to show you how I'm trying to deal with it. We can't control sometimes the things that happen in our lives, but we can try and find ways to deal with how we cope and how we deal with stuff. And in my life right now, it's just me and my husband, and we're very fortunate we can live from home. And so, we do have worries and troubles, but, other people have bigger worries and bigger troubles than us. And I'm very, very fortunate that I have some things to distract myself. And one of them is art, and card making in general is something that's very therapeutic for your soul. It's a very fast way, something that you can complete in a short time. You can stamp it, have that art therapy completed, and then you can send it off to someone. You don't have to hang it on your wall. It is something that's very giving as well. So as you are making the art, and as I was making the card and designing it this morning, I was doing it with my mom in mind. And so there's a lot of therapeutic stuff in that. Now my dad is also in the hospital, so he's been in there for longer. He was he's the one that I expect to be in the hospital. So for him, when he's in the hospital, my mom can be there for him, but not right now. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably take one of these cards and do a get well card for him as well. And what I'll do instead, maybe of pink, I'll maybe do like maybe a calypso coral. So like a coral, like a kind of a pinky orange, or I could do blue, but just something a little different. So I can send them the same get well card, but I'll do a different coloring for each card, just so that they're a little different. So you can make it a little bit more masculine if you want to as well. I'm so glad that you guys like my card. Thank you so much. Oh, and thank you, Sue. Sue said she shared this to another group. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. But if you like this bundle and or the stamp set, you can get that very easily. Just click on over to my blog. There's a link down below in the description here. Click over and you can see all the supplies that I used to create the card today. I mentioned the Casing Tuesday Facebook group. Casing means copy and share everything in the stamping world. And so we copy cards out of the catalog, but we have a specific card that we copy each week. And that's the card I showed you right at the beginning of this video. And so everyone works on that card. And on our Facebook group, you can post the card that you made and share it with us. And then we comment on each other's cards. So it's kind of an interactive thing that you can do. You can, you know, maybe you have a friend that doesn't live near you that's also a stamper, and you can both, you know, stamp a card. Maybe talk to each other on the phone while you're stamping the card, and then share it over on our Facebook group. And I noticed this morning I didn't get a chance to get to them, but I have a whole bunch of people to approve that I need to get to this morning. Like 40 people I need to go in and make sure that they're real people, and get them approved to our group. So our group is growing and thriving, and each week we have more and more people posting. So that is just awesome. All right, guys, I am getting set up for my BOGO sale. It is starting tomorrow if I can get everything together. It's been such a busy week. I have like 20 first class pieces of mail sitting out there yesterday. I had to get out the door. I've got a lot of things on the go, but I love doing my BOGO sale. I moved it this year. It's usually in August. This year, I'm doing it in July. Because we also have bonus days, which is like for every $50 you spend with Stampin' Up, you get a $5 coupon to use in August. So that's one of the reasons I moved it up. And also because we have different catalogs that have changed to different months. So I moved it up to July. I am giving away my retired stuff with a order of equal or greater value from the current catalog, from the Stampin' Up catalog. I will have all those rules and everything up tomorrow. If you want to know how I ran it in the past, it will be very similar. You can just go to my blog and search for BOGO and you can find it. But that is not the stuff that I have available right now. There will be more things, different things, but if you just want to have a look at how it's run, you can go there right now and have a look. But that will be past year stuff. Tomorrow I will post this year's, it's not really rules, it's there to help you and me, you know, so we know what we're doing for each other. So that starts tomorrow. So I hope you will check that out because you can get some really great deals. You can get my retired stuff, and I've got a lot of it packed away, and I'm going to bring all of that out right now. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great day. Get some stamping in there. Therapy for the soul. All right, take care. Bye-bye.